Now, the Trinity was always known as the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. This was from before Nicaea, from the time of even before Tertullian. But by the 6th and 7th centuries, this was established and known that this was the central tenet of not only imperial Christianity, Chalcedonian Christianity, but also Monophysite and Nestorian Christianity. And even the Sasanians knew this. The Persian Empire knew this. Their rulers. The Persian queen was actually a Christian, Shireen. The king of the Lakhmids converted to Nestorian Christianity, which believes in the Trinitarian formula at Nicaea and Constantinople, as does the Monophysites and the Chalcedonians. But in the Quran it says God is not Mother, Father, and Jesus. Now, the veneration of Mary to the point of almost a goddess does not appear in practice or belief for another. This comes in the very late Middle Ages, or you could even say during the Counter-Reformation, or just before the Reformation, which is before the Counter-Reformation. But there was a group of Arab Christians called the Coloridians, which were pagans that converted to Christianity, which believed that the Trinity was Mary, the Father, and Christ. There's also another group called the Valentinians, which believe that God was you had the Father, you had Sophia, and you had the Logos. The Logos also being another name for the pre-existent Christ. And Sophia was the feminine, Mother, Father, and Son. Now, it's interesting, the Valentinians were Docetists. And as well, there was another group of Docetists, which were called Marcionites, which believed that there was only one gospel, which was the Gospel of Luke as edited by Marcion. But the Syrian Christians relied on a harmonized gospel of Tatians, which mixed Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John together it was a harmonizing work to fit all four gospels together, in having the passages in chronological order. This was done away with officially by the church, not done away with, but taken out of use in the liturgy. And the Syrian Christians didn't like this, and many of them thought that the church had corrupted the gospel and made it four, in which it was originally one. They didn't realize that Tatian's Diatessaron was a devotional work that he did to harmonize the gospels. So in their view, there was one gospel, and that the Christians had corrupted it. Now, when I say Christians, I mean the Nestorians, I don't believe, ever used the Diatessaron. The Copts of Egypt never used it. And the Roman Christians, the Byzantine Christians, knew of it, sometimes used it devotionally, but didn't really use it. Certainly not in liturgy. So they thought, they corrupted the gospel. Just read the gospel and the Torah, it's all there. Here's another strange thing. The Quran, even in its modern day state, never says that the Torah or the Injil, the Torah or the gospel, is ever corrupted. It says they have corrupted it with their interpretations, with their commentaries, with their words. but not corrupted the writings themselves. In fact, it says that which is given by God will not be corrupted, which modern day Muslim apologists have got people to, spread the belief that that's only the Quran, that the Gospel and Torah were corrupted. Well, why does the Quran continually exhort people, exhort the reader, go first read the Torah and the Gospels, and they will point to the Quran. They will point to the truth. The Qurans were recitations, poetry with creedal beliefs in them. They weren't exactly creeds in the sense that we know them, like the Nicene Creed or the Apostles' Creed, but they were ways of clearing up what the scriptures actually meant. So that's the question for Christians to ask Muslims: why, if the Torah and the Gospels, or the Old New Testament, again, Torah can be used not just for the first 5 books of Moses, but for the entirety of the Old Testament, and the Gospel at that time was used for the 27-book canon of the New Testament. Why does it implore the reader to go read these two things? And while they may claim corruption on the Gospel, on the New Testament, which they can't do, at the hands of Paul, by the way, Paul is mentioned in the Sunnah as a upright apostle, Bolus, Boutros, and Johanna, which is Paul, Peter, and John. But the Torah, the Dead Sea Scrolls, match exactly the readings of the Septuagint. And we have intact, full manuscripts of every book of the New Testament from hundreds of years before the rise of what people call Islam. In fact, Tatian's Diatessaron doesn't exist in whole, but there were people after him who thought this verse shouldn't be here, it should be here. So we do have diatessaron's that were used around this time. Not to mention we have the Peshitta, which is the Aramaic Bible. Was there actually a man named Muhammad? Was there the Muhammad of the Sunnah? No. Was there a warlord that would later have this name projected back onto him by the West, by those outside of the Ishmaelites and or the Hagarenes, or the what would become Islam, the Syrian Christians? And then looking back on that hundreds of years later, a biography was made about this guy, which again, modern Muslims hate this biography. It's by Ibn Hisham, because it talks about the satanic verses and things like that. It doesn't match what canonical Islam claims happened. And then you have 300 to 500 years later, the Sunnah, the collections of Hadith coming around, which the most reliable one, Sahih al-Bukhari, was said to be, which is about 4,000 to 6,000 Hadith long, said that Bukhari, out of 400,000 Hadith, only took about 4,000 to 6,000, believed they were valid. What was his criteria? Correct isnad chains, which is a game of telephone. So and so told so and so told so and so. But if that were the case, you could take a hadith that was made whole cloth, and then just slap a proper isnad chain on the front of it. And these were collected from across the Islamic Empire, which spanned from Spain to India. So, yeah, it's, I'll get into this more later. Peace to you.